All right, guys, here's the second topic that we're going to be working on for the midterm review. We have topic 2, Biochem and Enzymes. What you'll notice is that a lot of this we've been reviewing for the entire first half of the year. So nothing should come as too big of a surprise. First up, we have two terms that we've been hearing over and over again, inorganic versus organic. When we're talking about something that is inorganic, remember it's going to have carbon or hydrogen or neither. So let's say I'm looking at these formulas. The first one I have is O2. O2, remember, is going to be oxygen. Oxygen doesn't have carbon or hydrogen, so it does fit into that category of inorganic. Next up, we have CO2, which is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide just has carbon, does not have hydrogen. So again, that fits into inorganic. And then finally, we have water, also known as H2O, and that just has hydrogen in it. It's lacking carbon, so therefore not be considered organic. Most of our focus for biology is going to be on organic molecules. Remember, in order to be considered organic, you have to have carbon and hydrogen together. A classic example that we see over and over again is going to be C6H12O6. Remember, that is the chemical formula for glucose. It has both the carbon and the hydrogen in there. Frequently, however, they don't give you the chemical formula. So I have the four words listed there. One of them is going to be starch. Then we have lipids, proteins, and DNA. Those are our big four organic molecules. The big thing about organic molecules that you need to know is going to be their building blocks. The first big organic molecule that we have is going to be starch. Starch is large. What are the building blocks for that? That's going to be simple sugars. Remember, all of those S's go together. So whenever they're asking for the building block, they're asking, if I was to digest this, what would I be left with? Next up, we have proteins. Proteins, when they get digested or broken down, are going to be made up of amino acids. Another thing to note is that when the process of digestion does take place, what is going to be that molecule X that I just put above the arrow? Remember, X is going to be a chemical compound that is responsible for speeding up a reaction. So X is going to be an enzyme. Remember, another name for an enzyme could be a catalyst. Sometimes they call it organic catalyst. Because remember, an enzyme is really just a protein with a very, very specific job. Our next statement says a protein's shape determines its function. This has a lot to do with that lock and key model that we've been looking at, where a very, very specific shape allows it to do the job that it needs to do. If you were to alter that shape in any way, that is going to cause a problem because it can no longer do its job or function. Enzymes, down here, a continuation on that, they're a specific type of protein. Again, they have a specific shape, and that specific shape is going to dictate or determine what they are capable of doing. Enzymes, if we're looking for a more general definition, right, they speed up chemical reactions. And the two chemical reactions that we've been talking about are synthesis and digestion. Now, we do have one other factor that comes into play when we're talking about enzymes. Enzymes can only work at very, very specific environmental conditions. The two environmental conditions that have a large role in whether or not your enzyme is going to work properly is going to be pH and temperature. So this is why if you get a really high fever, that's going to be very, very dangerous for you. If we were to look at it in terms of a graph, it might look like this, where the high point, remember, that's going to be our optimum. Optimum means the best temperature or the best pH. So internally for you, 98.6 is most likely the optimum temperature for enzymes to work. And when you get a fever, the enzyme, right, the temperature causes the enzyme to not work as well. Why is the enzyme not working as well? That's because the enzyme has actually denatured. Denature is really just a fancy word for the fact that it has changed shape. Now, once that enzyme has changed shape, it can't go back to the shape that it actually was. All right, let's take a couple of minutes, go through if you need to pause the video and answer those questions below. Now again, we want to keep using those strategies that we've been stressing in class. It says which substance is an inorganic molecule. Now remember, when we're talking about something that's inorganic, that means that it has carbon, or it has hydrogen, or it has neither. Now, of course, here they didn't give you the formulas, so you can't just use that little trick in order to help you. So what you have to do is you kind of have to do it by process of elimination. Number one says starch. Remember, starch is really just a specific type of sugar. And since it's a sugar, we should remember, those are going to be considered organic. DNA is also going to be a large organic molecule, so we're going to cross that one off. Then we have water. Remember the chemical compound for chemical formula for water? H2O. Maybe that one works because it has just a hydrogen in it. It doesn't have carbon, so therefore that could be it. Next one's a fat. Fat, again, that's going to be a really, really big organic molecule, so we're going to cross that one off. Best answer there is 3. Base your knowledge on questions 2 to 3 on the diagram below, which represents a metabolic process, and on your knowledge of biology. Says the letter X in this process represents, looking right here at this picture, X is over the arrow. Whenever I see it over the arrow, the first thing I think is enzyme. If I look here, antibody for number 1, nope, those are involved in the immune system. Hormone, no, those are chemical messengers that allow cells to communicate. Receptors also aid in cell-to-cell communication. Last one is going to be that enzyme. Again, remember, another name for enzyme is going to be a catalyst. Number 3 says this process best represents. So what you need to think is that I have these tiny building blocks here. First thing you want to think is, what are the building blocks of starch? Hopefully you see that S in starch, and first thing you think, simple sugar. So I go down to the bottom. Number 1 says the bonding of amino acids. Nope, amino acids, that has to do with protein. I cross that one off. Number 2 says the digestion of amino acids. Nope, cross that one off, says amino acids. And then number 3 and 4 both mention simple sugars. So I have a 50-50 shot. The next thing I have to do is I have to figure out, is this going to be bonding or digestion? Bonding means linking up, right? Attaching. Digestion means breaking apart. If I look at the actual picture, what I'll notice is that there are pluses there. The pluses mean that I'm bringing them together, not breaking them apart. Right? Breaking apart would be minus, subtraction. So best answer there is going to be 3. All right, going down the page a little bit to number 4. It says the function of a specific enzyme is most directly influenced by. Now, when I see specific enzyme here, remember enzyme is really just a specific type of protein. And if I'm talking about a protein, the most important thing about a protein in terms of whether or not it's able to do its job is going to be this specific shape. Number 5, which statement describes all enzymes? Remember, enzymes speed up reactions. So if I'm looking at number 1, it says control the transport of materials. No, some materials, remember, they just diffuse across the membrane. Number 2 says they provide energy for chemical reactions. Nope, energy is ATP, that's the mitochondria. 3 says they affect the rate of chemical reactions. Rate means speed up, so that could be it. And then number 4 says absorb oxygen from the environment. Nope, they don't absorb oxygen from the environment.